I used to think wellness retreat meant yoga mats, crystals, and women crying in circles about their inner child. Turns out it's code for, let's get drunk in the mountains and cheat on our husbands while pretending we're healing. But I didn't know that back then. Back then, I still thought my wife just needed space. Melissa booked this transformative experience with her close circle of friends who, mind you, have the collective morality of a used car lot. She said it was all about self-love and emotional detox, which, coming from a woman who once screamed at a cashier because her oat milk was too foamy, should have tipped me off. Still, I played supportive husband like a pro. I even drove her to the damn pickup point at 5 a.m., like a loyal Uber driver who doesn't ask questions. Kissed her goodbye, told her to breathe deeply or whatever, and waved as she climbed into that white rental van filled with enough matching duffel bags to start a cult. Be good, I said. And she gave me this wink, like I was the adorable but dim golden retriever who still hadn't noticed the electric fence around the backyard. 3 days in, everything still seemed normal, by Melissa's standards. Anyway, she texted occasionally. Photos of tea in mason jars, some quote about finding your center, one blurry pic of a campfire. Nothing outrageous. But on the 4th night, my buddy Chris texted me a screenshot. Dude, isn't this your wife? Now, Chris isn't exactly the sharpest spoon in the drawer, but he's got one redeeming trait. He lives online. Reddit threads, Discord groups, Facebook drama. He's everywhere. And somehow, he ended up on a public Instagram story posted by someone tagging #wellnessescape and #retrievibes. The post was nothing special, just a group photo on a wooden deck, overlooking the mountains. Except there were men, plural, in the background. 3 of them, shirtless. One holding a wine bottle. Another with his arm clearly around a woman. And the third? Blurry, but tall, bald, and way too close to Melissa to be just near her. I stared at the screen for a long moment. You know that weird heartbeat you get in your ears when your brain's trying to gaslight itself into calmness? That was me. I told myself it was a photobomb. I told myself they were retreat instructors. I told myself anything but the truth. And then I noticed something worse. The cabin. It wasn't some upscale wellness resort with hot springs and professionally curated herb gardens. It was a cabin. A standard, 2-story mountain Airbnb with a propane grill and a crooked sign that said The Denver. I knew that because I'd almost booked it once for a guy's trip. I didn't say anything to Melissa. Not yet. Instead, I told Chris to keep digging. He didn't even hesitate, just dove headfirst into the retreat hole like a conspiracy theorist on a caffeine binge. Meanwhile, I created a burner Instagram account. Nothing fancy. Some generic outdoorsy guy with 3 nature pics, a dog, and a profile that said, Recovering Tech Bro. I followed a few of the retreat guests from the public tags, DM'd one of them, someone named Sky, with a casual, hey, that retreat looked amazing. Thinking about going next time. Got any recs? She replied within 10 minutes. Oh, totally. So healing. I played the part. Said I'd just gotten out of a bad breakup, needed something low-key, asked what the vibe was like. Sky was enthusiastic. Like MLM recruiter enthusiastic. Told me about the schedule, breathwork, journaling, shadow work, wine tasting. LOL, the people, such great souls, and most importantly, the coaches. That's right, coaches. Apparently, this was some kind of couples liberation coaching thing. Except there were no actual couples. Just women who'd outgrown monogamy and freed themselves from traditional intimacy paradigms. That's a real quote, by the way. Sky sent it with sparkle emojis. It gets better. She even gave me the coach's name, River. I looked him up. River, full name unknown, was a shirtless guy in every photo. Tanned, bearded, always holding a mug. Sometimes a guitar. Looked like he did CrossFit in a teepee. And his whole thing? Rewilding the feminine through trust, surrender, and connection. Also a real quote. So here's my wife, Melissa, off finding herself with River and his merry band of emotionally available shirtless wine pourers, while I'm home making crockpot chili for one. Over the next 2 days, I got names. 5 women total. 3 had boyfriends. 2 were married. 1 had a fiancé. I confirmed it by cross-referencing Sky's photos with tagged friends, LinkedIn pages, and public Venmo transactions. You'd be surprised how much you can learn from a $38 charge labeled wine and wood and a fire emoji. Melissa came back Sunday night. Looked rested. Hugged me tighter than usual. Said something like, that trip really helped me clear some things. I almost laughed. She went straight to bed. I stayed up and stared at the ceiling, playing the retreat slideshow in my mind. Shirtless River. Her wine-soaked grin. The rented deck. The lies stacked like Jenga blocks, waiting for one wrong move to collapse the whole tower. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because I had a plan. One that required a little patience. A bit of showmanship. And just enough savagery to make sure this retreat would be the last relaxing vacation Melissa ever took behind my back. I booked the den for the following weekend. Same place. Same setup. But this time, it wasn't for journaling or self-actualization. It was for movie night. With popcorn, receipts, and 5 other very unsuspecting partners. The drive to the den was 3 hours of scenic nonsense I didn't care about. Mountains, pine trees, a lake that looked like it belonged in a Hallmark movie. None of it registered. I had one hand on the wheel and the other flipping through screenshots on my burner phone like I was studying for a final exam in revenge. And trust me, I was ready to pass with honors. Melissa thought I had a weekend work retreat of my own. I told her I was going to a contractor expo in Denver, that it was some boring convention where grown men in polos argued about drywall density and insulation foam. She barely blinked. Waved me off with a distracted, "have fun," while scrolling through some Pinterest board titled Minimalist Home Altars. Meanwhile, I had 5 direct messages sitting in my fake Instagram inbox. Sky, of course, Queen Oversharer, had helped me gather the whole cast list. Claire, Jenna, Sasha, Lindsay, and my very own wife. All of them had taken turns posting vague captions like, "Healing isn't linear," and "Some connections don't need words." Yeah, well, neither does betrayal when you're butt naked in a cabin with a stranger named River. But here's the kicker. While these women were finding their wild feminine essence, none of them seemed to realize I'd found their real essence through tagged photos, LinkedIn breadcrumbs, and their open Venmo history. The internet, where privacy goes to die. By Wednesday, I had enough data to assemble a guest list of my own. I called it the second circle. That's what I named the group chat anyway. 5 contacts, 1 per retreat participant. I made the invites sound mysterious but enticing. You deserve to see the full picture. Meet at 5 p.m. this Saturday. The Den, Evergreen, Colorado. No questions. Bring wine. 3 of them responded within 10 minutes. 1 replied with a single word. Finally. I didn't know what that meant at the time, but it hit like a warning. Saturday came fast. The den looked exactly like it did in the Instagram stories. Rustic charm, overpriced throw pillows, too many candles. I checked in under a fake name, unpacked the projector and my secret weapon, a curated slideshow that would make PowerPoint cry. Each image was labeled. Each one timestamped. I didn't go full-blown stalker, just enough to build a narrative. A hug here. A shared blanket. A strategically blurred figure leaning against my wife while she drank red wine in a hot tub. Oh, and the kicker? A selfie Sky had posted but deleted an hour later, Melissa and River walking hand in hand, her shoes off, smiling like they weren't married, like they weren't liars. By the time the guests started to arrive, I'd lit the fire pit and lined up the folding chairs in a semicircle like some kind of outdoor AA meeting for betrayed spouses. They came in slowly, cautiously. First was Jenna's fiancé, Mitch. Tall, awkward, looked like he was either going to cry or punch a tree. Next was Sasha's boyfriend, Darnell. He brought chips. Said he thought it was a joke at first. Then Claire's girlfriend showed up. Yep, girlfriend. Apparently, Claire wasn't just cheating with men. Which, honestly, earned a kind of slow, bitter respect from me. Lindsay's husband, Adam, arrived last. He didn't say a word. Just nodded, took a seat, and pulled out a flask. Guy was ready. I gave them 5 minutes to settle. Then I hit play. The opening slide was just the word retreat in bold white text on a black background. Then came the photos. I didn't narrate. Didn't explain. I just let the images do the talking. The cabin deck. The wine bottles. River leading a trust exercise that involved blindfolds and body oil. Melissa in a robe, leaning back on a beanbag with her eyes closed, legs draped over River's lap. By the 3rd slide, Darnell was pacing. By the 5th, Mitch stood up and muttered something about a ring. By the 7th, Adam emptied his flask. Nobody cried. Nobody screamed. They just stared, hands clenched, jaws locked. That silence you hear when everything inside a person snaps? That was the soundtrack of the evening. I thought she was at a leadership seminar, Adam said finally. Mitch laughed bitterly. She told me it was yoga. Darnell just shook his head. Body oil, bro, body oil. I let them vent. Let them piece together their own timelines. Then I handed each of them a folder. Inside? Printouts, photos, dates, retreat payment receipts, and one beautifully composed page titled, Your Rights as a Co-Signer or Spouse on Joint Credit Accounts. See, Melissa hadn't just gone on a retreat. She had paid for it using our shared credit card, $1,900, which meant I had legal access to the invoice, which meant I now knew the retreat wasn't licensed. No therapist, no bonding, no disclosures, just River and his little scam. I'd also found the cabin's Google reviews. Someone left a comment 2 months ago that said, great space for spiritual events, but loud at night. Too many guests. So I called the cabin owner, told him I was doing a documentary on unlicensed retreats and might want to feature the Denver. The guy panicked. Admitted the retreat was booked under a fake nonprofit name, that no actual business license had ever been submitted. So, naturally, I made a website, www.fakecouplesretreat.org. Homepage, a slideshow of smiling women in robes, and a big red banner that read, Warning, unlicensed group hosting events under false pretenses. Subpages included testimonials, documents, and my personal favorite, a blurry shot of River holding a gourd while saying something like, your soul deserves to be unshackled. Mitch asked if I was trying to ruin them. No, I said, I'm just shedding light. Next week, I'd post the link to every forum Sky had used to promote the retreat. Facebook, Reddit, Instagram, and a few yoga blogs. And Melissa? She still had no idea. She still thought she'd gotten away with it. Still thought I was some oblivious husband who couldn't see past incense and intention journals. But the funny thing about retreats? Sometimes the ones who stay behind are the ones who grow the most. Especially when they bring the receipts. I didn't sleep much that night. Not out of rage or heartbreak, but because I was fine-tuning the final stages of my little expose. Revenge, I'd learned, isn't a single act. It's a sequence, a performance, a symphony of setups, each beat designed to reveal, not destroy. The point wasn't fire. It was clarity. And I was composing one hell of a crescendo. Sunday morning, the mountain air was clean, sharp, and oddly symbolic. While Melissa was probably sipping green juice back in the city, relishing the afterglow of her spiritual transformation, I was uploading every photo, document, and testimonial to the fake retreat website. It was live before sunrise. At 8:03 a.m., I posted the link in 3 Facebook groups, 2 for wellness getaways and 1 for women-led retreats. At 8:11, I hit a couple yoga subreddits. By 8:26, a Reddit mod messaged me asking if I was serious. I sent him the invoice, the photos, and the screenshot where Sasha called River a tantric genius. That post stayed up. The first comment rolled in around 8:40. Wait, I know that guy. He used to work at a vape store in Tempe. By 9:15, the hashtag retreat reveal had over 200 shares. And the DMs? Oh, they poured in. One woman claimed she paid $2,200 for Reiki certification and ended up with a sprained ankle and an awkward group hug. Another said she recognized the cabin and had bad vibes the whole time. A third said she saw River at a truck stop flirting with a cashier while wearing a crystal necklace and no shoes. By noon, I'd received 3 offers to do a podcast interview. I declined. This wasn't about fame. This was about focus. But Melissa? She still hadn't called. Still hadn't texted. Not even a miss you, babe. That was fine. I didn't need her to reach out. I just needed her to open her calendar, which I'd synced to her laptop weeks ago. And on that calendar, this Friday at 6 p.m., was a new event I added. Anniversary dinner, dress nice. Surprise location. She accepted the invite without hesitation. Even added a little heart emoji. The trap was set. All week, I played it cool. I got home before she did. I cooked dinner one night. Asked how the retreat went. She gave me the usual new age word salad. It was grounding and just cracked something open in me. You know? Sure. Probably your wedding vows. By Thursday, she was in full glam mode. She got her hair done, nails, even booked a facial. She told me she was so excited to reconnect, like I hadn't just uncovered the romantic equivalent of tax fraud in her weekend itinerary. Friday came fast. I picked a suit. Simple. Sharp. Black on black. She wore something slinky and red. I complimented her. Genuinely. Because she did look beautiful. Treacherous, but beautiful. The car ride to Evergreen was quiet. She assumed we were heading to a winery. I let her believe that. 10 minutes out, she started to fidget. Is this where we had our second anniversary? She asked. Close, I said. She smiled. Nostalgia. It's a hell of a sedative. At 5:59 p.m., I pulled into the lot outside the den. Her smile faltered. Oh, this place again, she asked. Didn't think you liked the mountains. I've grown, I said. Just like you. She laughed nervously. Is this a dinner or something else? It's both, I said. Let's go inside. The fire pit was already lit. The same semicircle of chairs. But this time, there were new guests, Adam, Mitch, Darnell, Claire's girlfriend, and two unfamiliar women I hadn't expected. Turns out the internet works fast when fueled by humiliation and Wi-Fi. Melissa stopped short at the sight of them. Is this some kind of joke? She whispered. I guided her to a seat. No joke. Just truth. She opened her mouth to argue, but the projector flicked on. This time, I narrated. Slide 1. Melissa, wrapped in a blanket, holding a wine glass, sitting shoulder to shoulder with River. Slide 2. A group session led by River, shirtless, explaining how physical vulnerability breeds emotional truth. Slide 3. A selfie of Melissa kissing River's cheek. She stood. Turn that off, she snapped. Now. But I kept going. Slide 4. The invoice billed to our shared card. Slide 5. A quote from her in a group text. Best weekend of my life. I feel so seen. Slide 6. Her intake form, where she listed her emergency contact as not my husband. She lunged for the laptop. Adam blocked her. Sit down, he said coldly. Melissa sat. For the next 10 minutes, I let the images cycle through. No more narration. Just silence. The occasional gasp. A choked laugh. Someone muttered, unreal. Someone else whispered, my God. When it ended, I stood and handed her a manila envelope. Inside? Divorce papers. Filed. Signed. Ready. Her jaw dropped. You're divorcing me here? No, I said. You divorced me there. This is just the paperwork. She looked around, eyes wild. This is abuse, she spat. This is public humiliation. No, I replied calmly. This is accountability. You're confusing the two. I turned to the others. You all deserve to know. And now you do. Then I left. Didn't wait for applause. Didn't wait for screams. Just walked to my truck, got in, and drove. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt clean. Not happy. Not even relieved. Just clean. Because sometimes the only way to end a lie is to shine a light so bright it burns. 3 weeks later, the fallout was still echoing like a gong someone wouldn't stop hitting. The video from Slide Night, as Reddit so poetically named it, had been leaked. By whom? I still don't know. Maybe it was Claire's girlfriend. Maybe one of the burner accounts I quietly messaged afterward. Didn't really matter. The damage was done. Clips from the Slideshow were stitched together into a TikTok thread titled, When Your Wife Goes on a Wellness Retreat and Comes Back with Spiritual STDs. Classy, but effective. 23 million views in 4 days. Melissa's red dress had become a meme. My personal favorite? A freeze frame of her clutching the manila envelope, with the caption, That's not a chakra, Karen. That's a divorce. The retreat page was deactivated 2 days later. Probably too late. A dozen screenshots were already archived. Someone even traced River's real name, Elliot P. Vance, and found an expired intimacy offender registry in Oregon. Surprise, surprise. Melissa's phone buzzed constantly for the first week. Then it went silent. She moved out that Monday, took her diffuser, her yoga mat, and, mercifully, her crystal yoni egg. She left behind her wedding ring, though. Just placed it on the kitchen counter like a note I'd never read. Good. I didn't want closure. I wanted space. She tried texting once. Just one line. You destroyed my life. I didn't reply, but I did consider framing the message. I took a week off work, which everyone at the shop encouraged. They'd seen the video, too. One guy even brought popcorn to our Monday meeting like it was a damn movie premiere. Honestly, I wasn't mad. If anything, I was weirdly proud. I'd taken something most people would drown in and turned it into a public service announcement. A PSA with screenshots and timestamps. But the high faded, as it always does. By the following Friday, the house was too quiet. No passive-aggressive humming from the next room. No essential oil fog in the hallway. No morning declarations about Mercury being in retro-misery. Just silence. And dust. It was tempting in that emptiness to question myself. Was it worth it? Did I go too far? Was I cruel? But then I'd remember. She started this. I just ended it. Not with screaming. Not with fists. With facts. And facts, as they say, don't need apologies. Still, I had more work to do. See, River wasn't the only snake in that retreat. The other women, the friends, they had boyfriends, wives, partners. People who didn't know. People who deserved the same truth bomb I dropped on Melissa. So I set to work. Burner email. Dropbox link. Subject line. Thought you should see this. Evergreen Retreat. March 22nd to 25th. I sent 5 emails. 3 replied. One simply said, "Thank you." Another replied with a picture of a duffel bag and a wine bottle smashed on the floor. The third said, "I've suspected for years. Now I know. It wasn't justice, exactly. But it was something." I deleted the burner account after that. Cleared the cache. I didn't need a digital trail. Because it wasn't about being right anymore. It was about being done. But just when I thought I'd tied the last knot, boxed the last memory, and exhaled. That Tuesday, I got a letter. Handwritten. Mailed. From Melissa. I opened it because morbid curiosity always wins. It read, "Kyle, what you did, how you did it, I'll never forget it. Not because of the humiliation, but because you were right. Somewhere along the way, I started confusing freedom with secrecy, and love with attention. I wish I could say I was sorry. Maybe I am, but not sorry enough to undo it. Only sorry that you had to carry it. I hope one day you'll forgive me, or at least forget me. Don't reply. This is goodbye. M." I burned the letter. Not dramatically. Not tearfully. Just over the sink, one corner at a time. Ash flakes danced in the drain like guilty snow. The next weekend, I drove back to Evergreen. Not to revisit the cabin, God no, but to hike. There's this ridge about 2 miles up from the property, with a view that stretches forever. I sat there alone, wind in my face, and just breathed. And for the first time in a long while, I realized something. Revenge doesn't heal you, but sometimes it empties the poison just enough for healing to start. I stood up, dusted off the dirt, walked back down the mountain with nothing in my hands. No screenshots, no paper trail, no final words, just silence. And this time, it felt good. A week passed, then another. Melissa hadn't posted on social media since slide night. Not even a cryptic quote or filtered coffee mug. Total blackout. Her Instagram stories used to be filled with those pastel-colored graphics like "Protect Your Peace" or "Heal Loudly," usually written by someone who hadn't been publicly eviscerated in 1080p. But now? Nothing. I should have felt satisfied, triumphant, maybe even smug. But the silence itched. Not guilt. Don't get it twisted. Just unfinished business. One night, I went and grabbed some old paint cans in the garage and found the red duffel bag she'd packed for the retreat. She must have forgotten it. Or maybe left it on purpose, like a psychological landmine. Inside, an unused essential oil kit, a pink lace bralette still with the tag on, and a spiral-bound notebook labeled Soul Strategy Workbook. Jesus. I flipped it open. Page 1 had a prompt. "What is holding you back?" Melissa had written in cursive. Guilt. Obligation. Predictability. Beneath it, in smaller print. Kyle. That earned a chuckle. Not a laugh. More like a dry, silent wheeze. I tore the page out and fed it into the garage shredder. Strip by strip, her emotional self-discovery got chewed into recycled regret. The rest of the workbook? Blank. Figures. 2 days later, I got a call from Liam, the guy who ran the Airbnb property where the retreat took place. He sounded nervous. Corporate. Like someone reading from a lawyer-approved script. "Hey, Kyle. Just a courtesy heads up. We're closing the Evergreen listing. Temporarily. You know, due to all the press." "Press? You mean Reddit and TikTok?" I asked, half smiling. He sighed. "And BuzzFeed. And a Vice article. And a podcast." Apparently, someone from the wellness group tried to do damage control by spinning the whole scandal into a women's empowerment narrative, reclaiming intimacy and breaking toxic monogamy cycles. I listened to 5 minutes of it before I had to pause, mostly because I didn't want to ruin my dinner. Here's the kicker. They were planning a second retreat. Different name. New venue. Same garbage. I should have left it alone, but I didn't. Using the same burner strategy one used before, I followed the trail. New Instagram page. New branding. Same fonts. Same faces, just under fake facilitator names like Luna and Marigold. Melissa wasn't listed as a host, but I saw her pop up in the background of one promo video, blurred, sure, but unmistakable. That jawline was carved from contempt. This time, they weren't calling it a retreat. It was a conscious intimacy lab. Puke. The event was being held in Santa Fe. Swanky yoga ranch, adobe walls, turquoise jewelry dripping off every spiritual divorcee in sight. I thought about buying a plane ticket. Instead, I did something better. I contacted a YouTube creator I followed, Alexis Gray, a wellness industry whistleblower with 2 million subscribers and a talent for investigative takedowns. I sent her everything. The video, the cabin, the flyers, the notebook page, even a screen recording of Melissa's soul strategy profile, where she'd listed her profession as transparency coach. A week later, Alexis posted her video. The Cult of Cheating, when wellness becomes weaponized. It blew up. 500,000 views in 24 hours. The comment section was a bloodbath. Women tearing down other women. Men tagging their exes. One person even started a GoFundMe to launch a documentary called Namaste in My Lane. I watched the video 3 times. Not out of vanity. Out of something colder. Like validation. You can burn down a house with a single match. But if you want to make sure no one ever rebuilds there, you salt the ground. Melissa tried to reach out again, this time, through a third party. Her old friend Serena texted me, asking if I'd be willing to have a conversation. I responded with a screenshot of the podcast transcript where Melissa claimed she hadn't felt safe with Kyle for years. And that was that. 2 days later, I got served. She was filing a restraining order. I laughed so hard I almost dropped my coffee. A restraining order. For sending her words back to her. Classic projection. Didn't matter. The court tossed it out. There was no contact. No threat. Just truth. And truth, as I learned, is immune to subpoenas. By now, my name was everywhere. The Slide Night Husband. Reddit made a flare for me. TikTok tagged me in remix videos. Some guy even recreated the slideshow transitions in After Effects and offered to sell them as a template. It was insane and weirdly empowering. I didn't want fame. I wanted immunity. And I'd earned it. But the best moment came on a quiet Sunday morning. I was walking through the farmer's market, sipping my overpriced cold brew, when someone tapped my shoulder. A woman in her 30s, holding a baby on her hip. Hey, she said, smiling awkwardly. I just wanted to say, thanks. I blinked. For what? She nodded toward the stroller. I was going to sign up for one of those conscious intimacy things. Thought it might fix my marriage. Then I saw your story. It didn't fix it, but it ended it. And that's something. She handed me a granola bar from her canvas tote. On the house, she said. Then she walked away. And I stood there in the sun, granola in hand, stunned. That was the thing no one tells you about revenge. Sometimes it echoes beyond you. It doesn't just burn the bridge, it lights up the map. Melissa was gone. The cabin was offline. River changed his name again. Now he was going by Eli Phoenix and offering Zoom Tantra classes. But me? I was done. Not bitter. Not broken. Just done. And that? That was peace. 2 months passed. No drama. No new messages. No retreats. No lawsuits yet. Just a weird, humming stillness, like the aftermath of a thunderstorm where the air still smells scorched and heavy, and everyone's pretending nothing happened. I'd gotten back into a routine. Work, gym, walks. Clean house. Quiet fridge. No diffuser running 24/7. No sound baths. No one saying hold space for me when I just asked them to take the trash out. It was nice. Peaceful. And boring. So, of course, the universe couldn't let me have that. It came in the form of a LinkedIn notification of all places. Melissa had updated her job title. Again, Intimacy Alignment Strategist, Freelance. The profile banner? A stock photo of a sunrise over some vague desert and the words. Sometimes breaking the rules is how you find yourself. Beneath that, a link to her website. I clicked. Welcome to the realignment method. Soft pink font. A landing page with looping B-roll of smiling women in yoga pants, laughing around fire pits, journaling under trees. The headline read, "Because till death do us part shouldn't mean till you're dead inside." I actually bark laughed. It was unhinged. I scrolled. Apparently, she'd rebranded the whole cheating circle as a coaching business. Now they weren't hosting retreats. They were curating private couples transformation labs. With names like the Phoenix Table and Raw Partnership Immersions. Each one had a price tag starting at $3,000. $3,000 to get lied to with fancier adjectives. Melissa listed herself as the lead guide for a 5-week series on identity freedom inside Union. Whatever that meant. But what caught my eye, what made me lean back in my chair and grin like a villain in a noir flick, was the testimonials. There were 3, all anonymous, all written in the exact same tone. One read, "After 5 years of shutting down my truth to please others, I finally remembered what being seen feels like." Another, "Our marriage ended, but I started." A third, "She helped me shed my shame and step into my unapologetic self. My only regret is not finding her sooner." No names, no timestamps, not even initials. Cute. I figured she'd try something like this eventually. The public humiliation had been bad, but Melissa wasn't the type to fade quietly. She was too calculated, too proud. She wouldn't accept the narrative ending with her in the dirt. No, she'd rewrite it, twist the wreckage into rebirth. And she'd need clients to buy that story. I could have walked away. Really. I could have just closed the tab, exhaled, and kept living. But I didn't. Because I knew who one of the testimonials was from. The phrasing gave it away. Shutting down my truth. That was Becca, one of the other retreat wives. The one who cried during slide night and said she had no idea what she was getting into. Apparently, she got over the guilt real fast. So, I called in a favor. Remember Alexis Gray? The YouTuber who posted the first takedown video? She and I had kept in touch. Nothing romantic. Relax. Just mutual respect. She messaged me occasionally for updates or tips. This time, I sent her everything from Melissa's new website. Then I asked one simple question. Want a sequel? She responded with a thumbs-up emoji and a microphone gif. It was game on. Alexis didn't go straight for the kill. She teased it. A story poll here. A cryptic tweet there. Then one day, she posted a trailer. The realignment racket coming Thursday. It trended before it even dropped. And when it finally hit, firestorm. This time, it wasn't just messy wives getting called out. It was an entire industry. Coaches with no licenses. Fake therapy. Dangerous advice given under the banner of freedom. Alexis had receipts. Screenshots. Audio. Even one secretly recorded Zoom call from a lab where the coach told a crying woman that loyalty is a social construct designed by capitalism. The video got 3 million views in 2 days. Melissa? Vanished. Website down. Instagram deleted. LinkedIn scrubbed. But it didn't end there. Apparently, one of the husbands from the retreat had an aunt who worked for the IRS. She opened an inquiry. Words like fraud, unregistered business, and misuse of funds started flying around. The cabin owner got sued by the state for leasing his property for unlicensed events. And Becca? Well, turns out she and her husband didn't split up. He was just overseas at the time. When he saw her testimonial plastered on Reddit, he came back early. Filed for divorce. Full custody of the kids. Melissa didn't just lose her business. She got scorched. The last I heard, she was living in a sublet in Arizona, trying to pivot into writing a memoir. I hope she calls it, rebranded, How I Lost Everything But Found Myself. Anyway, that was the end of her story. Not mine. I moved out of the old house. Got a place with windows that let in real light. Started dating again slowly. Nothing serious. Just people who didn't speak in affirmations or own 12 crystal water bottles. Sometimes, I still get recognized. At a bar. In a bookstore. On the train. Hey, aren't you that guy from the slideshow thing? I smile. I nod. Sometimes, they ask me if I ever regretted it. Not the breakup, the revenge. I always say no. Because regret requires you to believe you did something wrong. But me? I just showed them what was already there. The rest burned itself down. Subscribe to the channel